stream to the camera. No. Yeah.
It's like a free agent signing.
Test, test. See this one? Jump up. Testing, testing, testing.
Test. Turn it on.
Testing. Make sure are we even centered? You gotta scoot over. I'm very picky.
We're good.
You start, and I'll see a little thing.
Huh?
You start, and I'll see a little thing.
Hello? What up? What's good?
Okay. 1 minute break right away. I gotta find somebody. Okay. Okay, hold up. Where's Sean? Okay. Tell Jafar when I'm interviewing people outside to play it here for these guys.
Yeah.
How new are you? I need you to find me 3 people who want to be interviewed, 3 people that I can interview outside. I'm going to interview them in about 10, 12 minutes. Find me 3 people. Should we turn off these lights or no?
No, keep coming.
We're going to start.
Yes.
Who's calling?
And he's fine. He launches this. Just so we get started.
That I'll come up with you. I'm done. I got you. I know.
Thank you. We're not ready yet, so you guys can keep talking. Sorry, I apologize. Oh, we're live, so we're ready. Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Good night. I love you.
Thank you all for joining us on this election evening. You know, we have there's definitely a lot going on. On behalf of the ADC, the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, and our friends here from the Canteen at Midtown, and our partners from different community organizations, we're glad you're able to tune in with us this election evening. And for those of you in person, thank you for joining us as well. Look, we know this has been a tough election year. There are many issues that we are impacted by, but we know what the most prominent issue is. And it has been hard, identifying which candidate to vote for, which position to vote for. We're not here to judge who you voted for. We understand that everybody has their different views and perspectives, and we respect that. What we are here is to analyze, to break down, and to determine what our next steps are moving forward. And I think you'll hear through the course of the evening, this is definitely not a celebration by any means. This is not something where we are in a good mood with the choices that we have. There are definitely going to be a lot of choices, there are a lot of challenges regardless of who wins. And we're ready for that, and we're ready to get to work. So we're going to have a good evening planned. There's a lot, it's going to be very fluid, very flexible. As people come and go, we'll pull them in and have our conversations, but I want to turn it over to Hassan Shami to go through those as well.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Hassan Shami. I'm the owner of the Canteen in Midtown. Just to tell you a little bit why we are hosting this program here. When I opened up the Canteen, I envisioned this to be a community hub. A place where it doesn't matter your race, religion, whatever part of this political spectrum you're on, everybody is welcome here. This is a non-partisan watch party, and whether you voted right, left, center, whether you abstained, everybody's respected, everybody's welcome. But most importantly, it's very important to understand that this watch party is going to represent our community, and as Abid said, this is a very somber period. Regardless of who wins, Trump or Harris, the American people lost. We've witnessed horror over the last 13 months, and there's a lot of confusion about what's going to happen in the future. But let's remember all the dead, murdered, genocided people in Palestine and Lebanon, the tens of thousands of kids who are amputated, the destruction, the terrorism by the IOF. And so this isn't a celebration. I know there are people in here who are probably very passionate about the Trump side or the Harris side, but I ask that you just hold your composure and just keep that to yourself, because this is a community watch party, a nonpartisan watch party, and we want to respect everyone here, and we are representing our community. So thank you so much for coming. It's going to be a long night. We have food, drinks outside. You guys can watch the show in here, watch it out on the screens, enjoy yourself, mingle around. We'll be interviewing individuals all over the canteen. And again, thank you. And ADC, it's a pleasure. Thank you for trusting us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Hassan, for your welcomeness and having this space open for the community. I want to call up Dr. Nidal Jarreau from this community, who is leading Doctors Against Genocide and has done tremendous work over the past year and has offered a very strong voice. And look, this is the underlying issue. This is the issue that many people voted on. So this is the issue we want to start the program with. And I want to invite you up here to give, have a conversation, give a few remarks, because I think his perspective is important. And as the results start coming in, we will post those. But we want to hear from the most impacted, from those that are in Gaza, those that are in Palestine, those that are working in Lebanon, giving their perspective, their positions, and really starting off, what does this evening mean? Where do we go from here?
Thank you, Abed. Thank you for inviting us. And thank you, Dearborn. I think we in Dearborn need to be proud this election cycle, because we are on the forefront of humanity and morality this time, which in a way it's different from any other previous cycle. We as doctors and healthcare workers go to school and swore an oath to protect life and to protect the sanctity of life and humanity. And we think that the people of Dearborn are the biggest supporters for us this time, because Dearborn is for life, for the sanctity of life, against genocide, against war crimes, and against anyone who commits genocides. And they can say anything about the Dearborn, they can say anything about the Arab community, about the Muslim community, but there is something that they cannot take away from us, which is we are for peace, we are for life, and we are the defenders of human rights, both here in the States and all over the world. And we think that we are this stands as real patriotic Americans who care about America being on the right side of history and not be complicit in genocides, war crimes, and sending more bombs to murder children. We don't accept this as Americans, as Michiganders, as Arabs, as Muslims. And we really think that this is a value that we insist to add to the Americans this cycle. So our top issue this time and this cycle is peace, against crimes, against wars. Stop the wars. Don't use our money to send bombs for war criminals. Don't use our names, and don't commit crimes in our names. We are against any candidate who supports genocides or being complicit in genocide, and whoever wins, we demand that they stop the genocide immediately, and we will continue to mobilize to stop the genocide being committed in the name of the American people against the defenseless people in Gaza, in Palestine, and in Lebanon. We think America can do better, the Americans can do better, and if they forget, we are here to remind them all of their real duty toward humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Once the results are known, regardless of who wins or loses, many are asking, what are the next steps? What do we do?
The next
The next
step
point.
is we are gonna keep mobilizing, we are gonna keep the pressure, and we will demand whoever the winner is, whether at the president level or state level or any level, the stand is the same. Stop the genocide, stop war crimes, use the American money here in America, do not use it to buy more bombs to murder children. We are telling the Americans no, their money, their taxes is being used to mass slaughter children. We do not accept this for you, our fellow Americans. We can all do better. There is more need for this money here in our communities, in our people who are homeless, for our children who still have problems with health care, with access, with good education. And even if we want to send the money abroad, we should send it to do some good work, some good deeds, humanitarian work, not to send it to buy $2,000 bombs to murder children.
Thank you, Dr. Dara. If you could also, it's been a year, there's been a lot of work, there's been a lot of fatigue as well within the community. What's the one message you have for people in the room, the people on camera, and those that are viewing in?
So whenever you feel like there is fatigue and you're getting sick of this, just remember the children there who are being starved to death, who are being bombed, blown to pieces every day. And I think every time you wake up, I myself felt this. I mean, whatever we're doing is not helping. Why can't we stop? And the minute, before you even end the thought, just open your phone and look at your Instagram, and you see one more child, 10 more children, 100 more children, 100 more mothers, fathers, grandfathers being murdered, being starved. And all this is being done in our name and with our money. So whatever difficulties we are going through here as Americans, as Arab, as Muslim, is nothing. It pales compared to what the real true victims are going through every day. And that is fully supported, aided, and abetted by our leaders here in the States.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Abed. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to call up, she entered the room, Sister Linda Sosor, who really needs no introduction to many of us in the community. The work she's done for years has been of inspirational, of great benefit and great impact. And she's really poured in everything she's got over the past year at a time when we really couldn't believe she had that much more in her. And she continues to lead and continues to really motivate us and guide us. So Linda, thank you for being with us. It's unscripted, so I give you the microphone. It's just, what are you feeling today and what's on your mind? So let it go.
First of all, thank you, Abid, for all of your leadership and all of your work, and thank you for everyone for being here tonight. How am I feeling tonight? I'm feeling like I feel every night. I feel devastated. I feel outraged every single day. And what I hope that people are feeling tonight or understanding tonight is that no matter which way this race goes, we got to fight regardless. And our community has to have the answer to what we're going to do on November 6th and 7th and what you're going to do in December and January and February and March, because there's still going to be a genocide tomorrow. And that's what I tell myself every day. I'm not a person that likes to predict races. I believe that every single vote matters. I saw a lot of incredible down-ballot races happening here in Michigan. Lots of folks running for school board. I saw folks, judges on the ballots, and I saw so many young people who were volunteering for races, and they were actually really enthusiastic and going up to people and talking to people. I was at Salina. I went to the McDonald Elementary School, and it was just beautiful to see our people go to the polls. That's it. And I didn't care. I didn't ask anybody who they voted for. Just watching our people go and participate in democracy during a genocide tells me a lot about our people, that our people are committed to our cause. And inshallah, Abid, we got a lot of work to do, my friend. And so I think that personally I'm gonna have the same feeling regardless. And I think that we should be very clear that either way this goes, we just have to be honest with ourselves. that the work is monumental that's coming up, and we just got to be ready. And the question is the community ready? And that's the question I asked the community. Are we ready?
I mean, are we ready? And if not, what's it going to take? What's it really going to take to get us there?
So, you know, it's gonna take us, Abid, putting our differences aside. It's gonna take us putting our egos to the side, putting our organizations and who gets credit for what to the side, and recentering our people. There are people in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Yemen who are counting on us to get our act together. And the question that I have always for our community, do we really believe, and I'm gonna answer the question about myself, do I really believe that our Muslim American, Arab American communities have done everything that they can to stop the genocide of the Palestinian people? Absolutely not. Do we believe that if we went right now to Gaza or to southern Lebanon and asked them, are you proud of your Lebanese, Muslim, Arab American, Palestinian American community in the United States? I promise you they would say they would not be proud of us. We have so much privilege in this country. Alhamdulillah, we are here, we are gathering together, we are safe. We don't have to worry about bombs dropping on us, and we can't even get our people to do the basic things, like get up for 5 minutes and go to the polls. Like, we literally were almost forcing people to participate in this election and saying to them, this is your moment. Are you outraged? Do you want to? And it was very hard, Abid, for us to get our people to do the basics, while our people are literally sacrificing their children, everything that they own, everything that they love in this moment. And I do not believe that we have met even an ounce of the dignity of our people in Yemen and in southern Lebanon, and Lebanon in general, and in Palestine. I just don't believe that.
No, I agree with you. There's a lot of challenges. And look, as the results start coming in, we see Trump is in the lead, but it's still early, and I think, there are many questions about, as I asked Dr. Nadal and others, the morning after, right? He comes into office or she comes into office. What is the strategy? What's the game plan?
The strategy that our community never has, and even when we are happy about a candidate, what's the plan? What do you want them to do? Where's the documents? You saw they have, the Republicans have Project 2025. They have a whole thing that says, we want you to do this to the DOE, we want this foreign policy, we want this domestic policy, and our community is just not up to the game. We got to get ourselves together. We got to start putting together our demand. What do we want Donald Trump to do the first 100 days? What do you want Kamala Harris to do the first 100 days? Because those are the two people that are, one or the other is going to the White House. And so I always tell our people, listen, you cannot only organize in politics from a reactionary place. Either we're mad or we just like one guy like we did for Bernie, even though he never made it through, but we still are not organizing. We're not building infrastructure and power in our communities in the way that we should. And I think this genocide, if we can't do that during genocide of our people, I don't have hope that we can do it otherwise. So I hope that genocide has really taught our community that we have to get our community together. We have to build institutions. We have to support organizations like ADC, like Emin, like those that are outside doing the work, AMPAC, and the many organizations that are registering voters, organizing voters. We just got to get our people together.
Absolutely. Do you have any take right now on this map, or?
Are people able to see this map?
Can our people see the map on the screen, or is that possible? Or no? They should be putting it up. But look, it is still early. But I don't know the feel you have from being out there today, at least on our.
Yeah, but it's important for people to watch how these things move.
It's right now we do have 95 votes for 95 for Trump, 35. So yeah.
Yeah, so we have 95 for Trump and 35 for Kamala Harris, but there's nothing surprising on the map, just so we're clear. There's no upsets anywhere. The states where Donald Trump won are the states we expected him to win: Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia. So those are states that we already knew Donald Trump was going to win. Texas is leaning pink. That just means that they only started counting votes now in Texas. So it's leaning red right now. Georgia is leaning red right now. So Donald Trump right now with 42% in is at 55% of the vote in Georgia. Now, we could look deeper into Georgia to see, for example, in a state, there's Fulton County, where there are large numbers of black voters, for example. So this would have to be us breaking down to see where Donald Trump got those 55%. But so far, Donald Trump is leading in Georgia. Now, the states right now that are leading blue, just so you know, according, Kamala Harris right now, folks, with 3% reporting in Michigan, Kamala Harris is up 64% of the vote in Michigan right now. Donald Trump, 33% in Michigan. Let's see what's happening.
Oh, it's on the side. They see it on
Oh,
the
he
side.
has it? Oh, you got it. You see it? Oh, you see it on the screen.
Sorry.
So right now, I'm going to put this for Michigan, if you see that there. So there's only 3% vote reporting, which is absolutely nothing. Just so folks, that's a very small margin. This is Michigan right now. So only 3% reporting, and Kamala Harris is in the lead right now. Pennsylvania, only 7% reporting, and Kamala Harris is winning right now. So this could mean that these numbers are coming from parts of Philadelphia, or from this kind of urban city areas in Pennsylvania. North Carolina is another important state also in this race. It only has 9% reporting. So this is just to say that when anything is less than 65% of the vote in, it tells you nothing. That doesn't mean anything. So whether you see Kamala or Trump winning, if it's only 9% reporting, 20% reporting, that's not an indication yet of who potentially wins that state.
Right. Dr. Nadal, I think, wanted to make a quick announcement. If you want to, he's going to introduce a campaign he's working on that's tied into some of what we've been discussing. You can come up and.
Are you letting anybody like Dr. Manny Moore speak?
Yeah,
No, I thought they were here. Why are they not doing that?
So, thank you, Abed, again. I really forgot to say this as an answer to your question, what's next? So our organization, Doctors Against Genocide, just started a campaign called Not Another Child, Not Another Hospital. We launched this campaign last week. The campaign is meant to mobilize the healthcare system to break its silence and to start advocating for the protection of children and hospitals in Gaza, Palestine, and then Lebanon, and anywhere in the world. We think the healthcare system moral duty and obligation is to advocate to protect life. This campaign is way overdue. The healthcare system has been silent too long. It is time for us. We are saying enough is enough. They should have been actually been on the forefront of this action against genocide and war crimes. We know the students were on the forefront this time, and they did really a great job of mobilizing the community against genocide. But unfortunately, the students have been suppressed and silenced by their institutions. And we think it's time for the healthcare to mobilize and to take over. This campaign consists of multiple hospital-wide, citywide, nationwide, statewide, and global coordinated actions that include holding vigils at the same time and holding press conferences, inviting other colleagues, and inviting the leadership of these healthcare institutions to participate in this. We are going to make this a global campaign of the healthcare system, demanding that they live up to their obligation and to their oath to protect the sanctity of life. The campaign is also has a petition that we are urging all healthcare workers to sign. This petition is being sent every week to about 500 healthcare leaders nationwide and globally. If you have any CEO, an email of any healthcare decision maker that you want to be involved, please reach to us, share the email with us, and we are going to add them to the recipient list. If you have any colleagues who are willing to join this action, please join them. If you know of any medical organization that is willing to endorse our campaign, we already have 15 healthcare organizations that endorsed our campaign. And we already, in 1 week, we already had about 18 vigils and press conferences that were held nationwide. And our petition has already about 3,500 signatures. This campaign is going to be persistent and consistent and will continue to grow until the genocide is stopped. It is an open-ended campaign and it's going to go global, and we will not end, we will not stop, we will not rest until the children are safe. So the children are waiting on us, on all of us. Please help us protect the children. You can go to our website, doctorsagainstgenocide.org, sign up to get more information, follow us on Instagram, and reach us directly to give more information. Please tell your colleagues, your circles know about this to join this campaign. So this is also another action that we are trying to do from the healthcare community as a response to this genocide. We know it's too little, too late, but better late than never. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mbass. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to go, Hassan is talking to a few people outside, getting their perspective, primarily for the people on that are watching us online, kind of hearing from the people in Michigan on the ground out here, what their perspectives are this election and what they're thinking. So they'll switch over to that. And then for those in the room, we'll put the election results also back up on the wall as well. And it's switching. For what?
Testing. Samuel, I have a question for you. Sure. So how long have you been in Dearborn?
Since 1979.
Can you share with us a story that helped shape your political views?
Of course, as a child living in South Lebanon, when we were walking in the streets, we would have to walk close to the walls of buildings as the Israeli tanks came through. Growing up, I knew that's not a place where I want to live, that's not a place I felt safe, and I don't want my children living in that kind of environment. For that reason, we're living here, my entire family is here. Therefore, our money now is paying for that to be repeated on our own people in Lebanon. That's why tonight I already voted for third party Jill Stein.
Was your vote for Jill Stein a protest vote against the two-party system?
Absolutely. That's the only way our voices will get heard, our message will get across. If we were to vote for either side, then we'd be silenced.
And if you don't mind me asking, who did you vote for in the last election?
Biden as a protest vote against Trump. In 2016, I worked for the Hillary campaign.
Thank you so much. Let me get Rami right here. Rami, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Do you believe either party represents the Arab American vote?
For the last, let's call it 2 decades, I truly don't believe that either party ever considered the Arab American vote. But I can confidently say in the last, let's call it 2 years, 24 months, I think our community and the Arab American community within the United States has come together to show that not only are we important, but we have the power to make a difference within the United States.
If you don't mind me asking, who did you vote for today?
So, contrary to the popular belief, I didn't cast a vote today. And the reason for that is, I'm a person that, with my line of work and my upbringing, I hold myself to certain accountabilities, and I also hold leaders to certain accountabilities. And I've decided that this election, in neither party, unfortunately, or I'm sorry, all three. Well, no, neither party, Democrat and or Republican, has showed any type of accountability.
I can respect that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sean, Mr. Sean Al-Khatib, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
So, what are some misconceptions about the Arab American vote?
See, I think the biggest misconception about the Arab American vote is they think it's all black and white. Either you don't vote at all or you just vote blue. And I think that's been the biggest misconception. You know, we have a very broad spectrum of issues that we really care about in this country. And it's going to continuously change and it's going to adapt with time. You know, you see a lot of people now that are focusing on multiple different issues. But the main issue that we're focused on this election is obviously what's going on overseas. You know, and with that kind of issue that is so near and dear to us, it's like, how do we protest and how do we stick it to the current administration that's currently killing our people? So I think most of the things that people woke up to this election is either they're protesting by voting against Kamala through Green Party, or they're just picking the other side because one of two candidates is going to win today. You know, so that's kind of like what I think of it. And the common misconception is they think we just all line up and just vote for Democrats no matter what happens.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. All right, guys, you heard it from three guys here, two guys and a lady here at the canteen.
Of course he is.
Back to you, Abid.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to call up Professor Khalid Beydoun, who I just saw walk by. And it's always good to have Khalid and Linda on a stage because I don't have to do, you know, much talking when these guys get going. We just want to listen. So Khalid, thanks for making it up here. How are you feeling?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good. Tell us how you feel your
Hey,
views.
views of tonight? Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone? How's everyone feeling? Good. So, I mean, early numbers show that Michigan's going to be close. That's what I'm seeing. It's a high voter turnout, which is it's hard to assess whether that's a good thing for Harris or Trump, but it looks like it's going to be a long night. I think what I'm thinking is there's a strong possibility that the vote's going to be so close that there might be a recount if it's really close in places like Michigan, perhaps Arizona, Nevada. Georgia's had that happen before, so we may not get a full determination as to who wins tonight. That's a possibility.
And the past year, what has been your position, views, feels? You've been posting a lot. You've been very vocal. Does that change at all? I know we've been asking this question a few times. What happens, you know, the next morning? What is the strategy, and does it differ to you, at least between the two potential incoming presidents?
So I don't think the position changes dramatically in terms of who the president is, but more so with regard to what the policy is. So if Trump comes into office and he's fully vested in carrying forward the genocide in ways that the Harris administration has, then we have to take the exact same stance against not only demanding a ceasefire but condemning a genocide at every juncture. Look, today I think there was a bit of news that was really frightening to see. The IDF declared that North Gaza was fully depopulated, that it was fully ethnically cleansed. So, like we've seen before, one thing that the IDF has done in conspiracy with the U.S. government is they've used large spectacles, whether it be sporting spectacles, cultural spectacles. Today's a political electoral spectacle, obviously to inflict considerable violence on the people of Gaza, and I think that's going to be the case today. So regardless of who the administration is, I think we continue the same sort of posture against the genocide.
Linda, you were mentioning the Georgia numbers.
So right now in Georgia, as folks see, they're over 50% reporting, and Donald Trump is winning Georgia by over 10 percentage points. That's not supposed to be the case. The polling was much closer in Georgia. Obviously, we still have another 48%, but this is the kind of thing that I always tell people, that the polls are never accurate, and that we shouldn't really be following polls in this way. So again, there's no conclusion that we could have until we watch more of the results coming in.
And the Senate races as well are also very important, and how those how those play out. And if the Republicans do steal a seat here or there, it'd be a very they'll push a lot of policies through in the 4 years if they have both the House and the Senate and the White House. But Khalid, how important is it for one area I think our community overlooks, the judges, like the judicial appointments, the appointments of attorneys?
Before we get to
Sorry,
that.
go ahead.
This is actually not bad. There might be some good things that happen tonight. So right now they have about 50% reporting in Texas, and Ted Cruz is losing. That might be a nice little thing to celebrate tonight if that happens. I mean, Colin Allred is, this is 50% is usually, I'm not saying that determines, but it's a good indication. But the fact that he's up in the polls, up in the results there, that might be something. Ted Cruz going down tonight might be a good one.
And I'm sure a lot of our viewers and those in the room know how bad Ted Cruz has been and the policies and the horrible positions he's taken against our community during his time in office. But and even tied into this, Ted Cruz, you got to give him one thing. He's a smart legal mind. He's always wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. Maybe losing this race puts him there if the Republicans gain control. But how important is the judicial portion of this?
Yeah, it's really important. I think that's one sort of comparative advantage, you would sort of like shift towards Harris, is that she would appoint more moderate, more, prudent justices on the federal bench than a Donald Trump would. But but the reality is this: I think for many of us, including myself, it's really difficult to look past the genocide and think beyond additional issues, collateral issues, issues around appointments that go beyond the genocide. The genocide has made everything very short-sighted, very myopic, that it's even difficult for me to think about things like judicial appointments. But if you isolate judicial appointments alone, then I think that, Harris is the better of the two options. But again, the reality is that it's really difficult to look beyond a genocide. Some other things to think about for tonight that few people are talking about is, and Linda said something really important, is that there's a real dissonance between a lot of the polling that's been done and what might happen today. Polls are different than actual voting, than casting a vote in the ballot box, especially when race and gender are at play. Right? What we saw in 2016 were when Hillary Clinton ran, people thought that white women would vote for Hillary Clinton in resounding, robust numbers. That wasn't the case. White women, I think the number was 58%, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, voted for Trump. Today, right now, there's that same sort of assumption that women are going to vote en masse for Harris just because there's a woman. The idea that gendered affinity is going to drive women to vote for Harris. That isn't necessarily the case. And with Harris, she's a woman, but also a black woman. How is race going to sort of diminish and curtail the number of voters she might have with regard to race and gender? And then obviously Reza with young voters. One thing that I saw earlier on that I read was that young voters are voting at a very high clip. I think that's bad news in many regards for Harris, because there's a strong connection between the youthful vote and the anti-genocide vote. So that's a good signal for the third-party candidates, both Jill Stein and Cornel West, but potentially for Trump, because voting third-party is indirectly a benefit for Trump.
Right. Was West Virginia?
Yeah, for example, in West Virginia, a very right-wing Republican just won the United States Senate. So the Democrats no longer have 50-50 anymore. So that's the other thing we're looking at, not just on the presidential level, but also in the Senate and the House races.
That's a big loss. And the results, again, they're still early. They are coming in, but Texas is at 50%. It looks like that will be closed. And how much of a surprise is that?
That's very close.
That is
so
very
Ted
close.
Cruz, as more results come in, there's literally less than a percentage point between Ted Cruz and Colin Allred in that race.
Yeah, seeing Ted Cruz lose would be a huge win on many levels, right? This was a guy who was very much at the top. He was the highest echelon of the Republican Party. He's for this community, he's staunchly Islamophobic. He's staunchly Zionist. Him losing is a huge loss for the Republican Party. Look, one thing that I think is important for us to kind of have at the front of our mind is whatever happens tonight, if the Republicans win, The Democrats got to do some real soul searching. What is the future of this party moving ahead? You can no longer like silo and alienate yourself from a strongly progressive base. Most young Democrats, young progressives, are anti-genocide. The party's not there. If they lose tonight, there's some real reckoning, some real soul searching that has to be done. That's also true if the Republicans lose. I mean, if Trump loses, is it the end of Trumpism? Do they go a different direction? Do they really struggle with, trying to identify what their identity looks moving ahead? That's what's really, I think, fascinating for me with regard to what happens at the end of tonight.
Linda, on that point, the Democratic position on Palestine, right? And we've seen this throughout the year. We see people go through that. Is that something worth emulating, you think, in all parties? Is that something worth pursuing? Like maybe
Absolutely. I mean, we shouldn't ever, as any community, be exclusive to any party. You know what I'm saying? But there are going to be some of us that have to play different roles, and we don't all have to engage on the same level. But absolutely, Palestine is Palestine regardless of party.
That's right. I want to call up Dr. Ali Dabeja and Zainab Shami.
They're going to take my spot.
Okay, they'll take your spot, but I was going to leave them up here with Khalid to have a conversation as well. Thank you, Linda, for everything you're doing. We'll be connecting with. Thank you. But I'm gonna step off for 1 minute and have a conversation with the three of you. Thank you.
What's up? Let's have a conversation.
All right, Zainab and Ali, thanks for joining us. We're going to have a conversation around, what's happening, what's going on in your minds right now, where you see things going. I'll lead with you, Ali. What's your sense? What's your assessment of what's happening so far in Michigan, but also nationally?
I'm no expert on any of these subjects, but I would say that as a common sentiment in the Arab and Muslim community, I think there's this. We feel very solemn and I think sad about what's happening, specifically because we don't believe that this election and this presidential race will potentially impact what we're experiencing in our daily realities, being Arab, Muslim American, and watching an act of genocide, right? So it's not a night in which we're excited about. A lot of us don't share in the excitement to come out here and say, hey, let's have a party about who's going to be the next president, because we do know that, unfortunately, because the policies are so similar, we might end up, continuing to see an active, terrible, terrible genocide. So that's kind of my sentiment right now.
Zainab, you're a school teacher. You work at Fortson, which we know is overwhelmingly Arab and Muslim. What's your view on what's happening so far? And specifically, if I can ask a more precise question, how is the political discourse around the election registering with young people? How are young Arabs and Muslims in your context grappling with the election so far?
Oh. Thanks. I think the young people are so disaffected. Oh, I have to speak louder. Okay. They're very disaffected. I think there's absolutely zero excitement for the political process. They don't see change coming through the political process. They're honestly, I think we've seen an erosion of the parties even pretending to listen to their constituencies, politicians. Now it's all about lobbyists, special interest groups, who's gonna pay the bills and get people reelected, and then when they're done, get a cushy job. So I think the kids see that very clearly. But really what's kind of been more direct is they've been coping with fear and deep, deep concern and mourning. Many people have lost dozens. I have students who have lost dozens of family members. Students walk in every day and I can tell they haven't slept. I'm checking on them daily because their families are dying. And just how do high school students cope with that? How do children cope with that? This is the norm for them. They're seeing this as young people, and to them, Arabs dying, it's normal. It's a political norm now. So in such large numbers so quickly, because we grew up watching our people die too, but it was a little more, it was a slower.
If I can follow up with one more question. So, obviously the genocide has kind of like monopolized our attention and what we've, been talking about and thinking about. But what other issues are salient or important to you with regard to this election beyond the genocide? Are there other issues, other policies, other concerns that are important to you?
I mean, I wish I could say, to a degree, educational policy is important, but it's really neither is going to be good. It's just about which one's going to be less bad. For example, we know Democrats are better with public education, but Arne Duncan, the Secretary of Education under Obama, did not do much. He did a lot of damage to educational policy, but the reality is most educational policy happens at the state level, and local school boards are very important. The federal level, really, not much of our funding comes from the federal level. Like when Betsy DeVos was threatening to cut off funding for school districts that didn't comply with her Department of Education, the federal government does not fund. I mean, it's maybe under 5% of our funding comes from the federal government. So I think as a local community, one thing we need to understand, we have 7 school boards positions in Dearborn. About 80% of our students are Arab American. 2 of our school board members are Arab American. I don't even know if one of them lives in the East End, where most of our school children are. There's a lot of disparity. The political machine of Dearborn doesn't place a lot of importance on school board, but we really should. For a long time, people saw school board as a stepping stone to a more I guess, prestigious political position, and that has really hurt us. So in terms of policies, I mean, standardized testing, funding, so many things, but the reality is this, rich kids get a good education, poor kids don't. It's that simple. That is how public education in America works. And until we change that, nothing's gonna change. But I do think that's how the system was designed. So,
Ali, I got a question for you. So, a tough question for you. So, many of us obviously, live in this community or spend a lot of time in this community. Many of us are old enough to remember how Trump, when he was elected the first time, really won that election on account of his very flagrant Islamophobia, right? He said things like Islam hates us, and on December 5th, 2015, he announced the Muslim ban, which then became policy when he was inaugurated. Just a couple of days ago, Donald Trump was down the street campaigning alongside very prominent Arab Muslim business owners within the heart of Dearborn. Number one, how does that make you feel? And second, I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Don't say that this is not my position, but is that a sort of like symbol or signal of progress that Trump is standing atop stages with Muslim leaders, imams, and then walking into a Muslim and Arab community in ways that the Harris campaign has not?
That is a challenging question. We come from a community in which, at the end of the day, we are of the same ancestral background. Our families are related, and these are our friends. And so sometimes, we see them and we see our friends make decisions that potentially aren't in the best interests, I would say, of the Arab and Muslim community. I would say, though, in response to your question, because it is multifaceted, when you look at the design of this democracy, this American democracy, and being that it is a form of an empire and colonialism, I feel as though that the process is to divide our communities, right? And for me to tell the owners of this local restaurant that you're not representative of us, you should not be a part of our community, and the infighting ensues, right? When really what I care about is a salient policy that decreases and rids the Palestinians of the suffering that they're going through, and the Lebanese as well. So I would love to have a discussion with people in my community about what is the right course of action, but at the same time, we have a common enemy, right? And that common enemy, right, is organizing as we are battling and fighting one another and calling each other out, and organizing to complete this genocide. It's to completely ethnically cleanse the south of Lebanon and the north of Gaza. So I would recommend to people who are listening, to my friends, our families, say, that, hey, at this time it's very difficult to look at one another and respect that someone's going to vote for Trump, right? But I think we have to look past this and move past it very quickly and say, well, how are we going to, engage? How will we organize? How will we, come to a common understanding of what our common goal is? So.
Great. So you have another challenging question for you. Let me work these mics. Okay.
Oh, man.
So my question for you is, look, let's fast forward 4 hours from now, right, and just sort of reckon with the reality, or the possible reality, that Harris has won the presidency, right? President Kamala Harris, a historic moment, first woman president elected in the United States. You are a woman. How does that resonate with you? Does it resonate with you at all that on the sort of like cuff of a genocide, history is made with regard to gender?
No pride in genocide, Khaled. I don't think a female murderer is any better than a male murderer. I have zero respect for Kamala, and I will not in any way celebrate as a woman, because I'm a human before I'm a woman. And what's happening is inhuman. And I think that's white feminism, and I don't do white feminism. I'm sorry, that's white liberal Western feminism. Women are not always right. In fact, I can point to one woman who's very wrong. Her name is Kamala Harris. Hillary Clinton. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton, by the way. In fact, I would say Kamala and Hillary are very similar in that they're just empty suits. What are they actually saying? That they are establishment candidates, and nothing will change if the consciousness of Washington, D.C., the American political system, remains the same. And it's only getting more entrenched. It's only getting harder to change. So they can put a woman at the helm to make our image softer. I don't even know how that would do that. When the dust is settled, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of dead people, many of whom are children, and whether it was a man or a woman who was responsible, I mean, it's it's the whole apparatus that's responsible, honestly.
And a follow-up I have is, look, I mean, you've heard the talking point that voting for a third party is a wasted vote. Mm-hmm. However, if you go online, right, if you go on social media, on X, on Instagram, whatever the platform is, you see there's strong, visible support for third-party candidates, specifically Jill Stein. And Jill Stein is in Dearborn tonight having her watch party. I believe she might stop over at this event later on this evening. How do you respond to that when young people come to you as a teacher and ask you, Mrs. Shammy, is a third-party vote a wasted vote? Go ahead.
I'm not allowed to talk about my politics at work, but I mean, I will say that the American political system is very broken, and for us to kind of keep being backed in this lesser of two evils corner, which is the most asinine, meaningless statement ever. Evil is evil. I mean, honestly, I think that's, as things are going now, I've seen a great decline in our political system. Like when I was 16, George W. Bush became our president. He took us into Iraq, and in 2004,